No time like the present. Let's see. We get this nice and tight. And this is good and tight. Here goes nothing. Okay. Here we go. And there we go. That's always the fun part. But it does look like we have gas. We're cooking with gas. However, let me see if I can adjust this. All right. There we go. I think, yeah, it looks like we are good to go, which means heavy lifting coming up. A one, a two, a three. Holy crap! Is it on? It is on, and it is centered. I'm not quite centered, I see. Looks like I need to adjust it, at least according to this camera angle here. That's a little better. All right, there we go. Hi there. Welcome to my backyard on this Monday evening, July 1st, 2024. I am, well, as you can see, I am using fire, and I'm using a huge vintage cast iron cauldron at long last. Yeah. Hello, honey badger. I hope, actually, that's the first I should say. I am outside, and I am testing the range of my Wi-Fi connection here immediately in my backyard. All right. Hello, JIR Finishes. First of all, I do hope you folks can see me okay. And more importantly, can you hear me? I would like to be sure, at least, that the video reception here is decent. Couple of reasons for setting up this video right now tonight. Number one, I do want to practice for, okay, let me back up. Last week I said I was going to do a special cast iron Wednesday this coming Wednesday. Can see the pot fine. Good. As I said, I'm going to be doing a special cast iron Wednesday this coming Wednesday, which is two nights from now. And I'm going to set up here in my backyard and do it live. So this is practice to be sure that I can get a decent live feed for that little bit of outdoor cooking. So hopefully, again, you folks can see and hear this okay. The other thing that I needed to do is, well, play with some cast iron. Specifically, yes, here it is. The 15-gallon, 200-year-old, well, maybe 175-year-old cast iron cauldron from the Savory Company of Philadelphia. I am planning to bring this cauldron to X Day this coming weekend and use it to make jambalaya. Well, this cauldron has been sitting in, not exactly in storage, but it's been sitting in my collection now for quite a while, which means in order to get this thing ready for cooking, I've got to freshen it up. We've got to freshen up the seasoning here. So both of these are a good excuse to, well, get out my propane burner and my laptop here, bring out the cauldron, and that way we will be doing a little bit of seasoning. We will get this pot nice and hot, season it up, and that means come this weekend, it'll be ready for cooking. So, yeah, honey badger, I used to know a guy who would use a couple whole chickens to season his cauldron every spring. Not a bad way to do that, yes, and I'm glad to hear sounds good. I'm glad to hear that JIR Finishes. All of that sounds really good. Okay, so well, really, I'm not exactly going to be doing any cooking in this. As I said, I'm really meaning to season this more than anything else, to freshen up the seasoning on it, I should say, so that we'll be able to season it with jambalaya this weekend. Even so, Well, I've told the story of this cauldron before, and yeah. Again, this was an investment I made when I found this at the Brimfield Antique Show, and good grief, I can't believe that that was in what 2016. We're talking 8 years ago. Well, at that time, felt that if I did not actually invest the amount that I did to get this pot, I would probably be kicking myself for the rest of my life. And well, 8 years later, what do I think? I think it was worth every penny. I'm still so glad to be able to own this heavy pot here. And yeah, this is a heavy pot too, for that matter. This thing weighs 75 pounds by itself. So yeah, lifting this thing is a real adventure on its own. And when this thing is full of like about 30 to 40 pounds of jambalaya this coming weekend. So yeah, we're talking like 100 pounds here. This is not going to be fun to lift. On the other hand, I've only been heating this for a few minutes and it looks like it's already starting to smoke. Awesome. Um, because this thing is such a huge pot, I had to get a special propane burner for this. Your typical propane burner that you can get at really pretty much any place, any decent place that is. Typically, is a small burner that uses, I believe, it uses a 10 psi um, propane attachment, and I had to get a 30 psi regulator to get this thing hot enough to heat up this particular pot. And so far, it has worked like a charm. That's the other thing as well. This is my first time bringing out my propane tank since last fall. It's maybe about halfway full, maybe a little bit less. So that's the other thing, of course. I am going to have the propane tank refilled before this weekend. Probably I'll do that tomorrow, in fact. But all of this has been a good excuse to bring it out, dust it off, and get some practice in. And away we go, as Rick Stumbaugh says. Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll definitely be pumping some iron, lifting this thing. No question about that. So, hmm. So far, so good. I mean, since this thing is already smoking on the inside, I guess I can already start with the seasoning. So, I think I can move this camera a little bit closer here. Don't want to get it too close, don't want the residual heat to affect the camera. But here's an excuse to break out the Crisco. Although I just realized I forgot something to scoop the Crisco in. So let me very, very quickly run over here into the kitchen, which fortunately is right near the back door here. So it only takes a few seconds. I should also grab my thermo gun, my temperature gun, and something to scoop it with. Yeah, this seems like as good a thing as anything. Big wooden spoon here. All right, so here we are. Yeah. And hello as well to Andrew Valentine, and yeah, as well as JR Finishes and Rick Stumbaugh. Okay, actually, that's the first thing I think I'll do. Let's check the temperature so far. It's really only been a few minutes, and so far at the bottom of this, it has passed 400 degrees. So yeah, that's why this thing is starting to smoke. And at this point, I'm glad I've got this outside because yeah, this thing is starting to produce quite a bit of smoke here. However, since we're at 400 degrees, I think we can start with a little bit of seasoning. And as I mentioned, I'm just using good old Crisco tonight. I realized a little bit belatedly that I seem to be out of the cast iron seasoning that these small companies are really getting into. Like Crispy cast iron seasoning or Easy Beezy cast iron seasoning, or there was another one as well. However, there we go. Just opened up a new container of Crisco, and no, I'm not going to use the whole thing. Okay. All we're going to do is Get ourselves a nice scoop and dump it in. Yeah, yeah, seasoning cast iron is not exactly rocket science. In a way, it is rocket science, I suppose, because after all, it involves fire. All right. And again, since the pot here has been sitting not exactly unattended, but unused for much longer than I would have liked, I probably should not cook anything in this immediately because, again, it's not very fresh. And that's my intention, to freshen up the seasoning here in this pot. Uh-oh, breaking out the Crisco. It is about to be a party. Well, the party is actually in 2 days. As I said, this is the prep work. We're doing some preparation for it. So, but I'm definitely looking forward to having some fun with this cauldron, that's for sure. All right, yeah, we've done that. Let's do something nice and simple. Got ourselves a rag, got ourselves our tongs, and let's simply start smearing it around. The fact that I'm so excited about seasoning a big old cast iron pot like this definitely would make some people question how sane I am. Because I've got a house guest actually sitting up there on the porch who's probably wondering, why am I so excited about fooling around with this big old pot here? Well, hey, all I could say is that for some people, smoking pot is, yeah, definitely quite a lot of fun. No, I'm not. Well, okay, no, officially, I'm not talking about that kind of pot. But yeah, what can I say? I am a cast iron nerd, and as such, I consider this to be not just a hobby, but fun. Trying to coat as much of this as possible. In fact, I think this rag has absorbed probably the extra Crisco that had melted on the bottom because it's no longer pooling in there on the bottom. It also means I should be able to get this spread all around the sides here. So yeah, this in itself is actually already looking pretty good. All I'll really need to do is get this pot good and hot so that I can effectively burn on a layer of seasoning on this. Let's hold this up. Let's start doing around the rim here. And then after this, we can actually do the outside. Careful. I do not have the tripod set up. And so as a result, this thing is kind of wobbly. However, considering this pot weighs 75 pounds, I don't think it's going to go very far. Even so, I think come this weekend, I will use the tripod just to be safe. Safety first, as they say. All right, a little bit around here. But yeah, this is not looking too badly already with just a single coating of Crisco. So far, so good. All right, let's see what we have here for comments. That cauldron is cool AF. Well, thank you very much. I'm very proud of it. Seems like a food grade mop would be good here. I'm thinking now, those little tiny mops that they make as basting brushes? One of those probably wouldn't do too badly here. I don't have one of those, though. So that's why I'm doing it this way, just simply using my tongs and a rag. And really, all we have to do is just wait for, as I said, wait for this to really burn on a decent layer of seasoning. So far, at least, this has not been as difficult as I feared. Might be good flash. Would a long handle brush work here? I suppose it would. I don't see why not. Not a wire brush, after all. We don't want to scratch off the seasoning. So we're just talking like probably a stiff bristled brush. That would probably be good enough. Maybe the kind of disposable one that you could buy at Home Depot. Almost like a paintbrush. Heck, maybe a paintbrush might even work. All right, now that we've done this, it's 75 pounds. Yes, Terrapin Tom, exactly. This thing weighs 75 pounds by itself. So, lifting this is indeed a chore. In fact, I remember I have that video on my channel and I have it displayed proudly. The one where I went out into the middle of the wilderness. Well, not exactly wilderness, but a national um, place, a park. That's it. To make that big cauldron full of jambalaya. I remember when I took this huge thing out of the car, I slipped and I almost broke my thumb. Seriously, this pot here did a 360-degree turn almost. I was able to settle it down on the ground, and it did indeed catch my thumb and bend it back. But I was lucky; it did not bend it back too far. There was absolutely no pain. I did not stretch or whatever the word is, damage my thumb. I realized potentially I could have broken my thumb, and that was entirely my fault. I will plainly say that. I made a mistake. Fortunately, it was not a bad mistake, and I'm still doing fine. But yes, I am doing my best to try to be careful handling this thing. So, call that a lesson learned, as I hope I have. Nonetheless, because I was not injured, I'm able to continue doing this. There we go. As you can see, I'm just giving it a good coating on the outside as well. I'm pleased to say this is not turning out to be as difficult as I feared. A little bit here, a little bit there. What are you going to make in it? Hello, Cynthia Caldwell. I'm making jambalaya. Well, not tonight, I'm not. I'm going to be making a huge pot of jambalaya this coming Saturday, assuming the world doesn't end on Friday, that is. But otherwise, this Saturday, my plan is I'm going to be at a music fest thrown by my friends in Pennsylvania. My friends in the band Rubik's Cube. Yes, that's their name. Look them up. Rubik's Cube. Rubix. They are holding their second annual Pube Fest this weekend, and they've invited a whole bunch of friends and especially bands, so that it's going to be a real rockin' time. And so I had the idea. I was at the first one last year, and that was a lot of fun. I took my 16-quart, 4-gallon Bayou Classic Dutch oven and made several pots of food there. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, which is why I kind of decided I would up the ante this year, bring out my biggest pot, give it a good excuse to use this thing, and make a huge pot of jambalaya. And that's what I'm planning to do this weekend. So there you go. That's Saturday. I did say I'm making 2 pots of jambalaya this week. This Wednesday evening, here on this very spot, in fact, in my backyard, I'm going to take out that 16-quart Bio Classic Dutch oven and make another big pot of jambalaya. Well, it's going to be the first pot of jambalaya. This is going to be the second. That one is for the 4th of July. I'll be making that on Wednesday evening, so that on Thursday, I'm hearing something beeping. Oh, is that you beeping? I thought I heard something beeping. Okay. Anyway, yeah, as I said, I'm going to be doing again, I'm going to be doing cast iron Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, 2 nights from now, in exactly this manner. I'm going to set up the smaller, somewhat smaller Dutch oven and make jambalaya then. And that's pretty much my plan for this week. And so far, I'm liking, well, the prep work here, as I said, is turning out to be nowhere near as difficult as I had feared. I've just given this thing a nice coating of Crisco. And yeah, I have to say it's looking pretty good. Are you doing the vocals? I'm not in any band tonight or this weekend either. I'm just simply on the sidelines, although I'm going to be cooking. Are there bigger vintage cauldrons? Yes, there are. I don't have a bigger cauldron. This is my biggest one. But yes, they have made bigger cauldrons than this. Folks will tell you that out in some places in the US, especially the ones who make booyah, out there in the Midwest. I mean, where would that be? Like Kansas, Arkansas? They do these gigantic cauldrons. We're talking like maybe 50 gallons, 100 gallons, gigantic things. And they make literally enough of that booyah, which is basically a huge stew, them enough to feed their entire town. And they have a whole festival for that. So yes, there are bigger pots than this. On the other hand, for someone like me, just owning this 15-gallon pot is probably enough. I mean, as I said, I'm doing my best to look for excuses to use this thing. And that's why I'm glad to be able to use it this coming weekend. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mercy B. And well, thank you very much as well, Calamity Jane. How long does it take to be seasoned? Hard to say. Really, I think until the smoke starts letting up. That's when you probably know it is actually carbonized. Which is why typically I know, with a typical cast iron pan or cast iron pot, you just simply put it in the oven at like 400 to 500 degrees for usually about an hour. It starts out by smoking a lot like this. And then after a while, the smoke begins to lessen, to, dissipate. It gives off less smoke. And that's when you know the seasoning has actually carbonized and that you built on a layer of seasoning. So that's why I'm hoping that. How long has this been running now? We've only been live for 20 minutes, believe it or not. But I'm hoping that by the time that maybe we reach the 45-minute to an hour mark, perhaps we'll be all completely done. Of course, then I've got to let this thing cool off. On the other hand, I don't think it's likely that this huge 75-pound, currently very, very hot cast iron pot is going to go anywhere. Even so, as I said, that's my plan. I'll just season this enough so that it'll be able, so that I'll be able to use it this weekend, and then I'll be able to bring it out. Anyway, what is going on with the Cauldron? New acquire or season? I acquired this one 8 years ago at the Brimfield Antique Show and some stone. Look on my channel. You will see that there are a few videos featuring this Cauldron. But because this thing has been sitting in, well, if not in storage, but sitting in my collection unused for longer than I would like, I felt it was necessary to bring it out and freshen up the seasoning, which is what we are doing tonight in anticipation and preparation for cooking this coming weekend. And so far, as the folks here have seen, and as you can see in the replay as well, so far it's been pretty easy. All I did was melt some Crisco, and I have been doing my best to coat every inch of this. And yeah, this looks pretty darn good. Don't want to set this thing on fire, so let me try to wrap this around in some way or another so that I can also coat the bottom of this pot. It's too hot for me to turn around now. But if I'm careful, there we go. Yeah, obviously I don't want this rag to catch on fire. On the other hand, it's a good thing I'm out here in my backyard, so that if it does, well, things will still be under control. But yeah. Right. Don't use your head. I did last night. 300-degree unmarked Wagner handle to forehead. Ouch! Results in choice language and blister. You probably had the Wagner logo permanently seared onto your forehead then. After it cools, do you wipe it down again or wipe it dry? Yeah, I'll probably do both. Wipe it down again and then take a few paper towels and wipe it dry. I mean, again, seasoning cast iron, as I said, is not rocket science. Essentially, probably the best rule to follow is if it works for you, then do it. That's why no two people can seem to agree on the proper way to season cast iron. The type of oil, the temperature you use, the method that you use. It's like, why am I not seasoning this thing with flaxseed flaxseed oil 6 times in a row, for instance? Oh yeah. So this thing is looking pretty good right now, isn't it? Okay. Hello, Cast and Fanatic. Well, thanks for the live stream. Well, thank you very much. Curious if you're concerned about the temperature getting too high. Well, actually, let's see what the temperature says right now. Let me put this down here. Get a closer view of the inside. And besides, there's something else about the inside I wanted to show you anyway. Somebody call? No? Okay. Sorry, I thought somebody was calling. Anyway, here's a view of the inside, and here's my thermo gun. Thermo gun here says we are just past 500 degrees. That's not a bad temperature at all, in fact. As you can see, this thing is going like between 400 here and 500 here on the bottom, maybe a little more than 500. So I'd say we're doing pretty good here. This thing is nowhere near the point where it is too hot. So things are looking pretty good. And I really have this propane burner on a fairly low setting too, so that if I really wanted to blast it, in fact, when this thing is full of meat and rice and water, I probably will have to turn the temperature up some more. But as you can see, this propane burner here is doing a very nice job handling it. Yeah, that's down here. Whereas here we're at a little more than 500. Hello. Hi. Yeah, go ahead. You can step in if you want. The camera is pointing directly at the pot, so I will not. Yes, I am live actually. I decided to have some fun here. Yeah, hi, my house guests are here. As I've been, yeah,
Let's see if I can stick my hand in the
yeah,
fire.
yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's safe enough. I mean, obviously, it's like 500 degrees if you touch it, but otherwise, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as I've been explaining to the my friends on my live here, I had to bring out the big cauldron and freshen it up so that we can use it this weekend. And as you can see, looks pretty good already. And all I've
Smells pretty
Yeah, and all I've done is just given it a coating of Crisco. So pretty much, I'm waiting for the smoke to start to dissipate, which means it's carbonized. It's burned on a layer of seasoning, and then it will cool off, and then yeah, and then that's pretty much it. Then that means I'll be ready to bring this thing out and make a huge pot of jambalaya this weekend. Yay! So, Handsome Stone, because of you, because of you, I picked up a Nest pan and pot. 40 bucks for both would never have been on radar. They are pricey. Nest pan. Are you talking about the brand, that new cast iron company? What is it, like Nest Cookware or something like that? If so, I understand 40 bucks would still be a real bargain, because I've got like a very small, not even a number three sized skillet from Nest Homeware, and I found that they actually sell that thing on their website for $75. We're talking like a tiny little cast iron pan that's smaller than a number three size. So yeah, I'd say then that 40 bucks probably was a decent deal if you feel you can use it. Calamity Jane, can cast iron pans in Dutch ovens be seasoned like this? Absolutely. There's really nothing special about this except that it's a big honking piece of cast iron. Other than that, it's exactly the same as a skillet or a Dutch oven. So yes, you could season any piece of cast iron pretty much the same way I'm doing here. And I would hazard a guess that back in the old days, that's probably one of the ways they did season these things. Hmm. All right. Yeah, she's a beauty. Would love to own one someday. Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. I don't want to. Well, maybe brag a little bit. I think I've earned a little bit of bragging rights with this thing. That's for sure. So yeah. Hi, I'm live on YouTube right now. So, all right. Well, thank you again, Calamity Jane. But yeah, the story, as I mentioned, I think I've told this story before of this particular pot. In that, this was one of those things. One reason why I loved and want to go back to the Brimfield Antique Show, because you never know what you're going to find there. This I found on the closing hours of Sunday, when all of the vendors were closing up and trying to get rid of as much of their stock as possible so that they wouldn't have to lug it back home. And I came across this pot. And yeah, as magnificent as it looks. Oh, by the way, notice one thing as well. I think one reason why I got this at such a low price. Look how pitted the inside is. This has a very, very rough pitting on the inside, and that is all the metal. That's not actually buildup. This is the actual metal here. It's very, very rough. But there are no holes in it. There are no cracks, and I've used this several times, and it has worked just fine. Which is yet another reason why I say, and will continue to say, yes, you can cook on modern day lodge cast iron. Cooking on a rough cast iron surface still will give you great food. Anyway, that might be the reason why when I came across this at the Brimfield Antique Show, I mean, I actually decided how much for the big pot, and the guy told me 200. And that stopped me in my tracks for a few reasons. Number one is, as you probably know, those of you who have seen this pot here at those antique malls or at other places, you probably have seen this thing sell with price tags going for, oh, I don't know, $600, $1,000, $1,500, and I'm not exaggerating either. I am positive we've seen pots like this from the Savory Company for maybe $1,500 or so on eBay, for instance. And the guy was offering me $200. So, yeah, I actually stood there and maybe paced back and forth for, oh, I don't know, a good amount of time, maybe like 10, 15 minutes, weighing it back and forth. It's like, oh, it's $200. Can you afford $200? Yeah, but on the other hand, it's only $200. I could afford it if I took the money out of my bank account and figure. I finally ended up deciding that, if I walk away from this and I don't get this, I'm going to be kicking myself for the rest of my life. And so finally, as I said, after about 15 minutes of going back and forth, I finally decided, yes, I was going to do it. And I paid the guy. Got my car there, managed to get this thing in the car, got it back home, and yeah, started restoring it. And that is the story of my acquiring this ancient cast iron pot. Well, maybe not that ancient. There at the Brimfield Antique Show. Doing research into the Savory Company, I find that they actually were around from, like, say, the late 1700s up to maybe the late 1800s. Based on that, I gave a rough estimate of the age of this pot as being manufactured maybe somewhere during the early 19th century. We're talking like maybe 1820s or so. Other cast iron folks on the cast iron cooking groups or the cast iron groups on Facebook, they have disagreed with me, and they would probably give this an estimate of like maybe the 1850s to the 1860s. I don't know. I don't know enough to know whether I'm right or wrong. Either way, I'm still am not complaining at all about this. So yeah, no, he was on vacation. Did Louis have a live Thursday? He was on vacation. Okay, yeah. 200 was definitely a good deal. Gotta love the hunt. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, that was my conclusion as well. I am quite happy that I managed to score this at that price. And yeah, that is my story of this huge cast iron cauldron. Of course, now that I have this thing, I have been looking for excuses to use it. And so far, I've managed to use this thing several times. Shortly after I acquired it, I did a video of making jambalaya in this thing. Then there was the time when my dad passed away, in fact. I used this pot and cooked more jambalaya at his memorial service that time, and I was able to give away jambalaya to the church that he was affiliated with, or at that time. So those were two of a couple of good reasons couple of good things that I've made in this. The other was that video, which again I have right there on on my YouTube channel. The one where I took out this cauldron on Halloween and made, yep, again, jambalaya. So far, it seems like there's a pattern here. I have not yet had the excuse to do things like a crawfish boil in this, or Brunswick stew, or some of the other things that you use a huge pot for. I'm still looking for an excuse. And it's not as easy as you might think, too. I mean, one year, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, in fact, I went to a local church in the area and offered to take this to their 4th of July cookout that they were having. They have a cookout for the public every year on the 4th of July, and I offered to use that. And they never got back to me on it, unfortunately. So I missed that opportunity there. All right. Cynthia Caldwell, I scored a 12-inch Wagner for $10 last week. Well, congratulations on that, marked or unmarked. Either way, it's a great Wagner pan, so I have no doubt that that you're going to get a lot of use out of it. And congratulations. Yeah, Cynthia Caldwell, it's old. Yes, exactly. That much I can certainly agree with. So anyway, as I said, it's really just a matter now of waiting for this thing to just that, to finish seasoning, and then and then we'll cool it off. So far, so good. Corey Clark, I found a BSR dry fry long griddle for $26. They go for close to $200. Oh, congratulations! Then, yeah. I mean, what can I say there other than patience is probably the best thing to have when it comes to the treasure hunt for vintage cast iron. I mean, I've been in this hobby now for going on 14 years. I find it hard to believe, but it's true. And during that time, I've managed to make a few good scores, including this. But I mean, again, 14 years. So it's taken quite a long time to, to really acquire some of the best pieces in my collection. It's like you just keep hunting and hunting. And I guess the best thing I can say is that you've got to enjoy the hunt itself. You've got to enjoy going to places like flea markets and yard sales and just browsing and antique malls and just browsing around. If you were disappointed that you did not find something really, really good, then the disappointment is gonna set in. I mean, I just pretty much assume that, yeah, I'm not really gonna find anything special, and I'm just gonna have fun looking and seeing what I can find. And for that reason, I love going to flea markets and yard sales and all the rest of that. And every once in a while, maybe every once in a great while, something catches my eye. And that's really how I ended up building a large amount of my collection. Nice, Corey. Yeah, exactly. Nice. I don't know Cynthia Caldwell. I don't know how much it'll change. I can't see the word. Change the marking. I was so excited when I saw it. Well, again, then I'd say, enjoy it. Clean it up, see how well it looks, make sure it doesn't have any cracks, and start cooking. That's probably the best advice I can give. I'm not sure, but I think maybe the smoke in this cauldron may already be starting to dissipate. So we may be off to a decent start. I mean, the flame is still going. As I said, while I know that this propane tank is starting to get a little low, and again, I do need to have it refilled. Um, from the looks of it, I'd have to say most likely the bottom here, at least, probably getting to be, well, just that, seasoned. So I'm sorry. You can if you'd like. I mean, it's a. I mean, as I said, this is a probably like a 200-year-old cast iron cauldron, and it's pretty hot at this point. You can tell just by putting just by holding your hand near there. But yeah, this is a real vintage. This is the genuine item. This is not one. This is not a fake. So, I have honestly, maybe a year or so ago, I honestly considered trying to rent this thing out as a movie prop, but unfortunately, I really didn't get very far with that. Anyway, what can I say? This is pretty much like a genuine witch's cauldron, and I'm not kidding. So come this weekend, I'm hoping to be bubbling up a big potion in this, and then come this Halloween, who knows? So what can I say? This is my hobby. This is this is why I do crazy things like this. Okay, my YouTube channel, it is called Cast Iron Chaos, Chaos, Chaos. If you'd like to look, well, thank you. Honey Badger, I found what I believe is a very early Red Mountain chicken fryer. Is there a good place to look to date it? Well, I'm sure there's probably a Tinder for cast iron. Well, actually, seriously, when it comes to BSR, the place to go is the BSR Facebook group. These days, it recently renamed itself. I think they call themselves Cast Iron Friends, like the Super Friends. But that is a long running group with very, very little drama or any arguments like that. And they are probably some of the best experts you can find on BSR. You post a picture there, they will likely be able to identify it for you. And so I would highly recommend that Facebook group, Cast Iron Friends. Honey, when it comes to BSR, Cynthia and Papa Dan are the gurus. I'd rent it if you do free shipping to Scandinavia. Yeah, that might be a little bit out of my budget, but thank you very much, Serratus. Uh, well, again, Cynthia Caldwell, regarding my collection, it's as I said, I've spent 14 years building up this collection. So this is definitely part of my pride and joy, though. So, I mean, what can I say? I'm a guy living by myself with nobody to tell me, no, you can't get that. And so as a result, my biggest fear is that I end up becoming a hoarder. I'm sorry? What was that? Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, you're looking at the live right now? Well, thank you. Anyway, Cynthia Caldwell, it says GHC in the center of it. Does that mean anything? Well, actually, yes. GHC stands for General Housewares Company or Corporation. And so that means GHC bought Wagner in around 1969. That means that Wagner pen that you have there probably dates from, there's a chance it might be 1969, more likely the 1970s. I'm told it actually could go as far as the 1980s. But then again, the 70s and the 80s are not as young as they used to be. That means you've got a cast iron pen anywhere from 40 to 50 years old. So that's something that's really nothing to sneeze at, especially for $10. So I would really say you got yourself a good deal there. Congratulations on that. Get a lot of use out of it because you will enjoy it. And Corey Clark, I believe BSR started out in 1902. I'd heard the number 1905. The thing is, there seems to be a real gap in the history of the early days of BSR, in that they actually had a foundry that apparently burned down somewhere around like 1915 or so. So that means they completely rebuilt around that time. And so it's estimated that it was during the 1920s or so that they started producing the cookware that we know as Red Mountain. I know one guy has shown what he believes to be an older BSR, an Atlanta Stove Works. They called it a stove spider, which is a pan with all of the marking, with all the shape of a BSR, including the handle. No mark, no size number on it, and it seems to be a little bit smaller than a number. I think number 7. I'm curious. I suppose I might take his word for it, really, because I see no reason to doubt him. All right. So we are going on now at about 43, maybe 45 minutes or so, which is a nice time. It's a little past 8. I might actually call this an evening because, this is not a full-blown cast iron Wednesday. Uh, and it looks like the camera is picking up more smoke than I can see with my eyes. So that's interesting. The lighting of the camera is different from what I see here in reality. But that's telling me that there's still some good smoke coming from this. However, I would say, I think we've done what we needed to do here. I've got this pot out. I've given it a coating of Crisco, and it does look like it's seasoned. I mean, if you look on the bottom, for instance, It does not look like there's any, there's any residual seasoning down there, or oil, or anything like that. So I think we are doing pretty good here tonight. Considering that, I'm thinking this might be enough for this evening. This thing's definitely nice and hot all the way up to the handles. In fact, for the heck of it, let me get out my thermo gun again. Let's check right around the edges here. The edges are still showing only about 175 or so. If I go down just a little bit, but if I go down onto the inside, the temperature jumps pretty quickly. So that's 500 degrees on the inside and even 300 degrees right around here. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think only the very bottom of this is probably carbonized. The rest of it is probably not hot enough to really give a full coating. But I think it's enough. I mean, it's got a nice coating now, so that when we cook jambalaya this weekend, I'd say it will do its job. All right. BSR to me is hard to date. The chicken fryer only has an 8 and an O on the bottom, hand scribed. Nice. Congratulations on that. The 8 is the size number. The O would probably be the mold number. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, if it's hand scribed, then definitely that is, that makes it more valuable to BSR collectors. BSR has become more known among antique dealers, especially cast iron dealers lately, and so of course the price has been going up. But outside our little niche market, BSR is still largely unknown. I mean, as you know, antique malls will, for instance, take anything with the Griswold logo and stick a high price on it, no matter what it is. They're starting to recognize what BSR is, but beyond that, they really don't have much knowledge of it. In a few years, maybe they will, but not yet. So many questions. We'll space them out over on Wednesday night. Okay. Well, Wednesday night, I'm, as I mentioned already, I'm doing a special one here. I want to set up not this cauldron, but my 4-gallon pot. I want to set that up right here in the backyard at about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I want to spend a good maybe 2 to 3 hours live making jambalaya. So there will be plenty of time for questions and discussion there on Wednesday evening, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope I don't bore folks, but I guess I'll say in advance, I am not asking anybody to spend the entire 3 hours here on YouTube Live. If you want to, well, thank you very much, but I am not demanding it. Come and go as you please. Because as always, the important thing is to have fun. I have several pans all the way back to my great grandmother. Yeah, Volrath is super stuff. Yes, it is. Maybe O means first. All right. Like I said, I'm thinking that this is probably well, again, we have done what we wanted to do. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. We have seasoned ourselves a huge cast iron cauldron in anticipation for the end of the world this coming Friday, 7 a.m., July 5th. I've told you that story before. Look up the Church of the Subgenius. 7 a.m. Friday morning is X Day, when the world ends. And then after that comes the X Day celebration. Then that's when I'm going to be taking out this cauldron and making a huge pot of jambalaya. That comes Saturday. Gonna watch from the beginning. Just woke up. Thanks for the stream. Well, thank you. I don't know about astonishing, but yeah, I enjoy myself, and I hope you folks enjoy yourselves. I think that's really the best thing I could say. I know I'm here to entertain you as well as to have fun, and I can only hope I'm doing both. But like you say, Calamity Jane. Yes, see you here on Wednesday. I've never made jambalaya. Jambalaya is really, really easy, as you will see for yourself. And having said that, I think, again, I'd say we are all set. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the video of this vintage cast iron cauldron. I'm glad with how it's turned out. Now we'll just let it cool off and enjoy the evening. Ugh.